Awesome. Well, I see Katrina on now, so we are excited to have you here, Katrina. Sarah, would you like to intro Katrina here since you guys already know each other?
Yes, a little bit. So we have just gotten to know each other over the past few months. Katrina and I both were able to speak at a conference together, and I was just saying, Katrina, that you are like the O whisperer. You're like Lady O at the conference. And as hormonal women, when we start going through hormonal changes, obviously libido is a huge reason that women want to balance hormones. And so we know that when there's any type of hormone changes and changes in libido, then you also get in your head about things and you start to struggle with relationships as well. So Katrina is, like I was just saying before, that you work with people like privately and with couples as well, just so they have a safe space to, kind of talk through some of those changes and what may be happening and some things to do that may be differently, just like losing weight is different from our 20s and 30s. Orgasm and sexual health also changes as well. So and we're excited to hear all of the things that you've been learning and working on with your ladies and to have you share with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Hi, everybody. It's so great to be here.
Yay.
So, thank you. So, yeah, our experience as women does change in each decade. When we're teenagers and puberty and going through that, and 20s is, for many people, a time of exploration, and 30s seems to be that time where you come into yourself and shedding some of the old beliefs and old things. And 40s is really when it starts to get going, and women are at their sexual peak at 40, in their 40s. So, unfortunately for us, it can be a very short window then into menopause. And so, pleasure is absolutely at the forefront of many discussions because a lot of people have, like you mentioned, a mindset, what we call block, or a different mindset going into that. We get to a point in our lives where we've given and given and given to everybody else in terms of relationships or in terms of sex, and even as mothers or caregivers to people. And there comes a time where you turn around and go, well, what about me? And as I spoke very publicly on stage with JT Fox, in front of 1,500 people at the conference, and I was asked why, like, what is the number one reason why women aren't having orgasms or really getting that pleasure? And I think it's because we were never taught that pleasure is even a side of sex. We were taught about the ins and outs, what goes where, the practicality of sex. We were told how to make babies, how not to make babies, how not to get a disease, but we weren't told that this is about our pleasure and our power and the actual power that an orgasm and sex and a real positive mindset and a positive body image and positive sexual experience can bring. It can unlock unlimited potential. You can open that portal to our creativity, our abundance. The more orgasms you have, the more money you make. When women have just one orgasm, they're glowing for days. It's just nature's gift to women. We tend to have a lot of the bad side, or harder side, arguably, than men as far as periods and babies. And, there is a lot of suffering with women and being a woman. We also take on emotional toll for those around us. And, when our loved ones are hurting, we really feel that and we really do hurt along with them. So the orgasm is just our one thing that's just ours. And it's our special thing, and the ability to have multiple orgasms. And as I say to people, you don't often know what's possible. So, if someone isn't able to have an orgasm and they've written themselves off, oh, I'm just not able to orgasm, that is absolutely not true. Every woman is. We were designed that way. If there is a physiological or biological problem, then get the medical thing sorted first. But it may come back to then not knowing how. And we can certainly help with that as well. And the other thing is really the mental, as you've said, is just that permission piece. So yeah, I studied clear energy therapy. I have a science degree. I worked as a personal trainer, so I've been in the space of health and wellness for my entire career, and it's so important to me, as I said, because taking women through the journey. I come from a big family, so I've had the roundtable discussions with my grandmother, aunties, my mum, and now my daughter. And a big, big, big question I often ask myself is, would I be okay if she was living like this? Would I be okay if she was in this relationship? Would I be okay if she was having sexual experiences like this? And if it's not okay for my daughter, it's not okay for me, and it's certainly not okay for you. So I think as women, we need to have this conversation around what was allowed or okay or acceptable in previous times is no longer allowed, okay, or acceptable. And we want a different story for our daughters, and we want a different story for us now. So, yeah, with pleasure, if we just, I'll just start from the top and go through, is one thing that people probably don't understand. And it's hard in a heterosexual relationship because we're so different. Like, men are ready to go in like 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and it can be very quick for them. And sometimes there's a place for that. But for a woman to experience the full sexual, let's say, smorgasbord, it takes about 20 minutes biologically for the woman to warm up, which is touch and kissing and sensual. And now a lot of people who are busy with work and kids, don't take, 10 minutes, let alone 20. So it's almost a scenario where you may have to schedule this in. And I'm not joking, like scheduling sex dates, particularly if you've been in a relationship for a long time. It can become mundane. It can become cookie cutter. It can become same old, same old. And I say this all the time to clients and friends and anyone who listen, if you've got a good man at home who works hard, comes home, loves you, takes care of you, does his best, have sex with him more often, because it will benefit both of you and your entire family and your children and your extended family, and both of you financially and career wise. Because withholding that or not doing that, or waiting for him to tick off every item on your list, oh, well, he didn't take the rubbish out, he didn't compliment my dress, and he didn't notice my haircut, is expecting a man to be like a woman is a big pitfall. So having sex more often, increasing the quantity of sex, and then we can work on increasing the quality of the sex between you. So yeah, one big thing is people don't allow enough time. And lubrication, you really don't need artificial lubrication if you take your time. We are self-lubricating. We are designed that way. So keeping yourself hydrated is one way, but taking that time to build up the sensuality, build up the touch, build up the pleasure, and then the vagina is lubricating, and it will, increase, and you shouldn't actually need lubrication. So if people are noticing that they are dry, it can get a little more dry in menopause, but that's not a hard and fast rule that you're going to lose your lubrication. There are ways.
So, can I ask you then, like, because for women, as we start going through perimenopause and menopause, right? And we have the hormone changes, it does impact our libido. It does create vaginal dryness and things that we're just not used to, right?
Yeah.
And as women, oftentimes it's difficult to have those discussions with a significant other, especially men who don't understand we're struggling with our weight, and it's not because we're eating differently, right? We're struggling with our libido, and it's not because we don't love them. We're struggling with like feeling pleasure during sex, and it has nothing to do with, our desire. But it's really difficult to have those discussions. So like, what do you recommend? Like, do you recommend then that your clients just put it out there with their spouses? Like, how do you, that's a hard conversation to have, right? And there's a lot to it. And if you
Yes.
don't have the conversation, it makes things so much more difficult, right? Because it's kind of like the elephant in the room, and you're just kind of like, oh, hopefully he won't notice that we haven't had sex in months, right? But at the same time, that not having sex or like that vaginal dryness. And so like, what do you recommend are some like easy kind of steps to take, knowing that, like I said, there is that elephant in the room?
Yeah. So often we have to stop ourselves from being critical. So we may have our list of things that are wrong and things that are bad, or things you want him to change or do differently. But if you start there, usually it gets his defenses up. He feels blame or shame, or it gets, defensive. But I do this and this for you. So that's a better way to start, is start with what you do like. So, even if he cooked you dinner, or even the fact that he goes to work really hard, or he has a nice shirt on, complimenting a man is a really good way to start a conversation. And also, I think for you, because I can remember a time in my relationship where things were really bad, where I had a list as long as my arm of complaints about my ex-husband. And while I was so angry and wanted to throw dishes at his head, I remember thinking, gosh, he's probably got a list of complaints about me that I'm not aware of. So I
Mhm.
think it's just everybody coming down and knowing we're not perfect, but that this is a big deal and important to you. So starting with the good is really good way. Some people call it a shit sandwich, if I can say that. It's like a good thing, the bad thing, and then finish on a good thing. But it actually does work. So, and the bad thing has to be specific too. And that can be like, I would like you to touch me this way, or I'd like you to slow down a little bit, or I'd like to try a different position, or I'd like you to be more patient with me, in the kitchen, it could be. Because I
Mhm.
think another thing for women is through the day, if we're feeling criticized or feeling overwhelmed or feeling like our to-do list is growing faster than we're chipping things away, the last thing women want to do at night is go to bed and have sex, right? Because they're exhausted.
Yeah, yeah. So and like when you work with clients as well, like so you more like a lot of times you're working with people outside of the bedroom, like kind of like starting outside of the bedroom, right? With communication and just kind of like talking with each other in a way or in an environment where you're not actively having sex or like how else are you like coaching people?
Yeah, it depends on the person. Some people know that I'm Lady O, the orgasm lady, and they come specifically for that, in which case we start with that. But then we always get back to work, career, mindset, decision making, which is interesting. And then other people who come in for weight loss or money or self confidence, then we often get back to sex. So it can go
Okay.
either way. But yeah, with couples, I usually interview them together first all with their permission, and then I interview them separately. And when they tell me something, I ask, the hard questions, and I say, are you comfortable for me to share this, or did you want to share this with your partner? Because I think the biggest thing is the gap between I need to say this and I'm terrified of what's going to happen when I say this. And we get in our head about, I need to talk to him about this. I need to talk to him about this. This is not working for me. I'm angry. And we take it all on and build resentment. And that becomes so much more because in our head, we're so scared to say that thing. And so people feel so comfortable with me and tell me things that I'm like, that's great that you've been able to verbalize it to me, but I need you to verbalize it to her or to him. I will often have them rate their sex life out of 10 individually. And that's very telling to me too, because often couples have a mismatch in libido. One has higher than the other, and that can be a big source of problems for couples.
Do you find that as couples get older and as women get older, that you are suggesting more like vaginal lubrication or toys for stimulation or just changing things up a little bit just because it is does time sometimes take longer to climax as our hormones are changing?
Yeah, and that's what I said in the beginning. Time, it does take time, and like you said, you're not 20 anymore. You're not always just ready to go, and that happens for men as well because their erection can be, take longer to come up or not last as long, and so there are changes for both of you, and that can bring a lot of shame, unnecessary shame, and guilt that, oh, maybe I'm not able to satisfy my partner as much, which is a lot of times not the case. It's again, it's in the mindset. So I think taking that time, but also working on, like you said, things outside the bedroom is nutrition and water and sleep, which I know you're all across with your entire platform, but those things get more important as you're older. If you're eating rubbish food, it's like putting sand in your petrol tank and expecting the car to run. What you're putting into your body is a function of what's coming out. So really clean diet, plenty of water, will help with that too, and getting good night's sleep, which I know is hard in menopause, but these things are really important.
Yeah. And I think too, like, confidence does play a big part in it when, when you're not able to, like, your efforts aren't matching the outcome, right? And so it's really difficult a lot of times when, we're gaining weight, even though we're exercising and eating well, right? Which is why we focus so deeply on the root cause of hormone balance. Do you find that there are, like any particular like supplements or herbs or lubricants or anything that help with like sexual health and sexual function that you recommend to your patients?
I'm not in a position to recommend per se, but I think a standard sort of vitamin protocol, definitely vitamin D. We are globally very low in vitamin D, and that has to be coupled with a vitamin K. So like 2 to 1. Um, I don't know how you go with this, but a lot of the recommendations are actually too low, so I take extra. I take quite a bit of vitamin D and vitamin K myself, vitamin C as well. As you know, I think you got sick too. We were at that event with 1,500 people, and so many people got sick. So having that vitamin C, and I do take high dose of that too. Magnesium is really, really important. That can be a topical spray too. So upper body during the day, lower body at night, soles of your feet, back of your knees, magnesium is a game changer. Helps with sleep, calming, relaxation. Zinc too is another one that's very under. A lot of people are low in zinc. So they're probably the most basic sort of, couple that just increasing those in your daily routine can help you feel so much better.
Yeah, so just like essential nutrients and minerals, which we focus on as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we test vitamin D levels, we get them up into the 80s.
Yeah.
We kind of fill in the gaps with essential minerals and nutrients with some of the supplements. And then we do have supplements that we'll use as well for perimenopause and menopause relief, which will help with balancing libido and sex hormones too. So
And what seems to be one thing is it seems very unique. Like some people are like, oh, I love HRT. Oh, I hate HRT. Oh, I needed the women's supplement. Oh, that didn't work for me. So I
right.
think going to an expert such as yourself is so advantageous because you can get your unique profile and try what works for you because we are all different. And in this area of the nutritional support, it seems to be a very broad spectrum of unique individuality.
Yeah. Now, I know that we just someone had a question about lubrication, and there do seem to be different types of lubricants out there. I know like coconut oil has been one of them. There's water-based, even just like KY jelly. So, like how important is lubrication and like is it better to have a water-based lubricant? Does it make it easier to climax with additional lubrication? Especially as we get older.
Yeah, it does. My go-to is always as natural as possible. So I like, I love an organic coconut oil. I say have it by the bedside because it's actually good for our entire body. It's not going to hurt you. It's good for hair. It's good certainly for genitalia and safe. And also then if you were to have oral sex, it's safe as well for that because it's consumable. So I think that's an important thing to note because those other ones with chemicals, I think, well, if you're then ingesting that, it's if
Yeah.
you wouldn't just drink the bottle, whereas coconut oil you would. So, that's my absolute go-to in that. But again, people have different allergies and sensitivities. So yeah, then a water-based one would be my second preference.
Okay, awesome. And then I like and sometimes too, like we'll prescribe it's called Scream Cream. It's like topical Viagra essentially. But what it does is it increases the blood flow to the genitalia. It helps with your natural lubrication. And so, even when we talk about sexual health, I think it's important to like note that oftentimes the ability to have an orgasm and to like have more vaginal lubrication is due to that vasodilation and increased blood flow, which happens during foreplay. But like you said, it can just take, a little bit longer sometimes. So I know some other tips that we've heard other people share are things like, get into romance novels, just kind of like warming yourself up a little bit prior to,
Yeah.
and if you have the discussion like, hey, babe, tonight's the night or whatever it is, right? Like, but also like just that openness and communication and just being honest about it. But sometimes like just something else out like just takes you out of your headspace of the checklist of like all of the to-do things that you have. I got to clean up the kitchen, I got to run the kids around, I got to, drop this to the mail or whatever. Do you find that there are other things like that that seem to be pretty helpful that you recommend?
Absolutely. And on that romance novel, not only reading it yourself, but read it to him or have him read you a chapter or take turns in bed before. Like that is so sexy. I mean, I'm a bookworm, like books are my love language, right? But, because I think people are really afraid to verbalize, again, because we were never taught this, but like sexy text, or, you know, like, hey, babe, can't wait for you to get home. I'm going to your, you know, like fill in the blank of your personal. If he's at work, right, he's going to be racing home to get you. Because I remember years ago, I used to watch Oprah with Dr. Phil, and Dr. Phil said, great sex on a Wednesday night starts on Tuesday morning, you know, with like a tap on the bum, or like, you know, a cuddle, you know. And men, God bless them, they are just so sexually driven. You know, they'll come up behind you and like fondle the boobs. And sometimes women don't appreciate that. Some women do. So I think it's about communicating that. And I think, you know, those the men who are working with men are doing phenomenal things in that space. But having that communication, and as I said before, like, I like it when you give me a hug. You know, I like it when you send me a text to tell me when you're coming home. I liked it, you know, that time we had sex and you did this, this, and this, you know, complimenting him, being very specific about what he did. They're very trainable creatures. And then I'll be like, she liked that. I'm going to do that again.
Yeah.
But also music. Music is so profound. You know, a song that makes you think of them, and send this song, you know, it might be a new song on the radio, or your wedding song, or a song that, you know, you fell in love to, or your first kiss, or whatever it is. I just read a meme the other day, which is so true. People might forget the words, but they won't forget a song that reminds you of that person. And I don't know if you're the same, Sarah, but I will often be on the radio and particular songs remind me of different friendships or different times in my life. So having a song or a new song and just dancing with each other, you know, in the kitchen or in the bedroom or in the hallway to that song, it's oxytocin flood, right? It's just happy hormones, and it's our connecting as well. And we connect with that person, which makes us want to please them. And for men, it makes them want to please us too, which they really do want to do.
Yeah. And I think it's hard because a lot of times men mistake like sexual contact with like, oh, well, that's romance, right? And it's not. Like oftentimes if for I'll say for me personally, like if I don't feel romanced or appreciated, like I'm not in the mood, right? Like, you know, I like look, I have been like fulfilling all of these things to everybody all day long. Like this another task that I have to do, right? Like it's that doesn't make it like, okay, all right, yeah, let's, you know, get into it or whatever it is. I think just creating those spaces and those pockets of like, let's go out on a date, you know, open the car door for me,
Yeah.
you know, treat me like, you know, especially, you know, like compliment me, kiss my face, you know, hold my hand, give me a hug. Those non-sexual interactions that are romantic and make you feel like appreciated, I think go a long way. And, you know, a lot of divorces happen around the time of perimenopause as well. And it's just, oh, we fell out of love or it's very difficult. And I think you can't stop dating that person, but especially as you go through perimenopause and menopause with the hormone changes, changes in libido, it's more of an effort, right? I feel like getting into the mood and getting to the point where you can orgasm does become more of an effort, right? And it starts, like you said, the day before or outside of the bedroom. So I think,
Yeah.
you know, just opening those doors of communication and being like, look, if you are bringing me flowers or whatever your love language is, right? If you're bringing me flowers, if you're complimenting me, you're appreciating what I've done, you're taking me out on a date, you are rubbing my back, you know, you're just giving me a hug for no reason or saying, hey, thanks, I noticed you. Like sex comes easily, right? But it doesn't when you're just like, oh gosh, it's just another thing that I have to do. You know, women aren't even going to try an orgasm at that point, you know.
No, and you're absolutely right. And I'm glad you mentioned love languages, because that's what I was going to say. Unfortunately, I mean, it's a great growth area that our top love language is usually our partner's least likely that they're going to give. And the one that we think, oh, what do you need that for, is probably their primary one. And this is part of our bonding and the beauty of human nature. So it's important to know all five. And if you're not sure, is, you know, I offer a free challenge, or I say to people, like, do one thing, you know, that costs you nothing of each one, and see which one he responds most to. So, you know, if you're not a gift giver, buy him a gift and see, you know, it doesn't have to be expensive. Like, it could be his favorite chocolate bar, or something that thought you know, on your way home, or his favorite meal. I know in my relationship too, mine was words. So if he yelled or swore or got angry, that felt like a knife to me. Whereas most people say, well, words can never hurt you, but to someone whose love language is words, they feel like a physical pain. Whereas his was acts of service. So and I'm like, well, you can make your own sandwich. Why do I need to make you a sandwich? And I never understood that for many years, that the act of me making a sandwich or ironing his shirt wasn't about the sandwich or the shirt, but that's exactly how he felt loved. So finding that out, and there's a free thing online, you can find it out, but doing that. And even further to that is something I've developed, which is our pain languages. So when we're in pain, we show the person in one of those 5 ways. So, words, sometimes people use vitriol and words. Some people withhold affection. Some people just leave. They just have to leave the house, leave the room, leave the area, and they go away. And if that other person is quality time, it just hurts, like, as I said, like a knife in the back. And some people it's an affection or gifts, and some people withhold gifts from people, like, I'm not buying you a birthday present, or I'm not getting you a Valentine's Day present because you didn't do XYZ. So I think we have to be very aware of our pain language and our partner's pain language, and knowing that and making a concerted effort to avoid those things will just amplify your relationship in phenomenal ways.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you recommend to women too? Because, it's difficult sometimes, well, a lot of times, to express what you like and what's changing if you don't even know your own body. You're kind of like, I don't know, you just kind of figure out how I'm wired. So do you recommend masturbation or masturbating together, or showing each other? What do you kind of recommend as they're kind of transitioning with hormone changes and things like that?
Yeah, even if you're in a relationship, your body is still your body. And, I think a lot of women, particularly in the 40 plus age bracket now, masturbation has been a never thing for them, or has been not an option, or they've never been shown or told or know how. I think women should know how to give themselves an orgasm just with hands and fingers, and that's something that can be learnt and taught and mastered. Because then you know what you like, and it's very easy for people who became partnered in a relationship quite young, really before they knew themselves sexually, or that's only one partner or one long-term partner. It can be a problem where you fall into that pattern of that's all you know, and that's okay. But as your body changes, you need to know what you change. For instance, nipple stimulation or clitoral stimulation, or vaginal, inserting, your own 2 fingers into your vagina, and anal stimulation too. There's been time where that was like bad or dirty or wrong, but that can reach, different spots for male and female and enhance pleasure in certain ways. So it's, important to take some time. And I know it can be so embarrassing for people. So I think it is a matter of start small, but in your own private time, in the bathroom, the shower, or, if the other person's not in the house, is taking the time to just lay in the bath and just feel your body. Because unfortunately for many women, we have numbness in the vagina, which can be a result of trauma, can be a result of inactivity, can be a result of our mindset, or it can be a result of menopause and aging. So not feeling anything is a problem, because then how do you know when you're feeling pleasure? Women tend to feel one of 5 ways they feel pleasure when touched intimately, or they can feel shame or guilt, or they can feel numb, or they can feel pain. And so feeling what feels different ways in your erogenous zones and even other parts of your body is important to know, because that self-awareness then you can bring into your sex life, into your partner. And when it's really hard, I say to people, you've got to be brave and just say one thing, start with the small thing that you can communicate with your partner. And as I said, it's a lot easier to say, I like this, rather than I don't like this. It's, finding out what you do like, and then you can talk about what you don't like. Unfortunately, sometimes we just have to be the bigger person and start the conversation, because he often won't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does anybody else have any? I don't see anything in the chat, but there's a bunch of us on the call. Do you guys have any suggestions, any questions, anything that you're curious about that you want to ask Katrina? No, everyone's just keeping it quiet, which is
I
okay.
think, Sarah, I think for men, it's just been, because of what Katrina you say, I think they may not start the conversation. It's just because they can't imagine where we're coming from. It's unimaginable. It's not because they don't. It's like when you've been given permission all your life and it's part of your normal progression, And we talk about it and we know it, and we wait for the sticky sheets and we wait for the crusted up tissues as a mother, and we like, it's normal and it's not gross. I mean, you might want to pick up the tissue, but really it's normal. But your daughter, what would she like? So they only grew up as them, knowing it's a rite of passage and that's what they do. So I just wanted, the only thing I would think listening to that is to have a conversation, and needing to start it is because I just think they don't want to lack empathy. It's just it's so different to their own lived experience.
Yeah, we don't know what we don't know. And the same for men. Like I said, with erectile dysfunction, he could be suffering with that and you may not know. You know, he may actually be in his head going, oh, this has been going on for a month or 3 months, or in many cases, a year. And sometimes people show that with anger and outbursts, and that makes you not want to have sex with him. But that could be a protective mechanism because he's feeling some shame or guilt. And we don't know. I don't know what it's like to have a penis or erectile dysfunction, but, you know, we that's why it's so important to just have this communication.
Yeah, and I've heard clients say too that, you know, they have had spouses with erectile dysfunction. And so really, like, some nights it's just like one person or the other has the orgasm. They just kind of take turns, you know. The guy's like, look, I can go right now. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna lube up. Like, we're just gonna focus on you getting off tonight because we're like, this is your chance. And then, you know, it's kind of going to be the same types of things. Like, he's going to be like, hey, like, I had a couple drinks, I'm not going to be able to, but like, let's take some time with you, you know? So I think, quite honestly, I think having those discussions, it's really difficult to open that door and say, hey, look, like, this is super embarrassing. This is my body is changing. My libido is changing. Like, I love you. I want to like work on this, but like, I don't feel like myself, you know. I feel like a raging bitch half the time. I feel chunky in my clothes. Like, I don't want you to see me naked, right? I don't want to be on top. That's like, I just can imagine what you're looking at and seeing like all of this extra fluff, like jumping around on top of you, right? Like, it's really difficult sometimes for us to get out of our own heads. And then to have that discussion, it's a very vulnerable discussion to have. Yeah.
Another thing on that, which we I wasn't aware of until recently, is that estrogen has that effect on us where we think we are less attractive than we actually are as women with estrogen. So we're looking in the mirror and seeing all of our flaws, or, you know, we're looking at photos thinking, oh, you know, I look fatter, I don't like that angle. And so we are really hard on ourselves, but this is, you know, hormonal. But whereas testosterone has the opposite effect. Men think they look better than what they actually do. So if it helps at all, he probably doesn't think the same things about your body that you do. And I mean, he's just so happy to have a naked lady, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think I saw it was like a TikTok video, and they went around like, oh, what are you thinking when like a girl's on top of you? Like, what if she's overweight? It's like, I literally do not care. Like, she could be 500 pounds. I don't care. Like, it's like an amazing thing, you know, like, I love my significant other. I love whatever. He's like, I don't care if she weighs extra pounds. Like, I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. I have a naked girl on top of me. Right. So it's different. I know it's totally different when you sometimes have those discussions. You're like, okay, good to know, you know. And also I saw another, I watch too much TikTok, but I do it for research, right? It's like business research.
Research, Sarah, research.
But I saw this TikTok, and a guy was asking like, girls, you know, reverse cowgirl, where you're like, you know, he's laying down and you're on top looking at his feet, right? Or whatever. It's like, do you guys like that? And like, all you see then is like a picture of guys' feet, and we're like, no, we do that for you. That's zero fun, you know? So I think it's like some of those things that, like, you know, we have some like preconceived notions, and we make assumptions of what they're thinking. And then when you actually like talk about it, it's like hysterical communication, you know? So, okay, so this is, I love this. So what about women who are single, tired, and with low self-esteem? Rachel says, girl, get you an amazing vibrator and a romance book, haha, and some lube, next level. Yeah, I mean, having an orgasm from a scientific standpoint, it releases oxytocin, it releases anxiety. Like, it could be a great way for you to de-stress. And quite honestly, if you're single and there's not a guy around, awesome. You don't have to do any other work. You could just like chill with your vibrator, and then you come, and then like you just go to sleep, right? You're just like, oh, thank God, I'm relaxed. Like there wasn't any like anything else going around, and it's just kind of one of those things that just learning, like you said, learning about your body can be really, really helpful.
Also helpful on that is an orgasm before a big business meeting, or an orgasm before a pitch, an orgasm before a negotiation. Like, we just do not know the power of this thing. I've been doing this for many, many years, and we just glow. And when we're ovulating, and obviously in menopause that may not be as often, but we are so much more attractive, and people want to say yes to us and give us things. So having an orgasm and all those beautiful glowing things right before big things, or if you need to pitch something or going for a job interview, do that as well. And that's
Yeah.
people just don't think of the power, and this is why we're having this conversation. But yeah, and the other thing is, when you're single, it gives you an amazing opportunity to find out what you like, and to find out what turns you on and things you don't like. And then when you're attracting and finding a new partner, you can be a lot more discerning and attract that one that you want, that fulfills those needs in a better way than your previous partner could.
Yeah. And someone asked a question too, like if some of the tissues at the vaginal opening, they seem thinner, sometimes they tear a little bit more because, that tissue does become more thin as we get older. You don't have as robust of that like vaginal lubrication, and those tissues aren't as thick. And so like, do you in those situations too, like lube, obviously lubrication is a good thing, but do you find that with like coconut oil, that's a better, not barrier cream, but like a better lubricant that stays a little bit longer? Because a lot of times with water-based lubricants, they can like wipe away more quickly. Like, is that like kind of what's your suggestion for something like that?
Yeah, I love coconut oil. Like, I think coconut oil in the general, but the other thing is pawpaw cream is quite safe. If there is a little abrasion,
Say that?
pawpaw cream, PAW, the pawpaw fruit. Do you have that? Pawpaw ointment?
No.
Oh,
Is
oh,
that?
there's this comedian that joked. I'll have to send you a photo of it. The fruit, the orange fruit, pawpaw. It's
No, I don't know what that is.
I'll
Like,
go and get it for you.
oh, Cassandra's getting it. Okay, perfect.
I mean, like, I have like 5 tubes. It's a joke because this guy comedian goes, women everywhere in Australia have this, and it's never been advertised anywhere, but it's like word of mouth and osmosis. It's a little red tube. There you go. She's gonna get. I probably literally have some right here somewhere. I'm sure I do, because we kept. There we go. I do. No, I don't. It's a texture. I do. I will have some around my house. So yeah, and that's it's a thicker ointment. So say you would use that before bed, not necessarily before sex, but to protect and give the skin a little time to heal if there was an abrasion. Can be used on the anus and the vulva as well. It's a healing one as well. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Even lavender is a a natural thing too. So maybe a drop of lavender in just in a mix of the coconut oil is healing and antibiotic as well. Something like that, or in the bath.
I love that. Oh, wait, let's see. We say Baloo sang about it in the Jungle Book song. Oh, I know, but with the Jungle Book, obviously, we don't have the jungle here in the US. So I don't even know what pawpaw. I'm
I'm
thinking
gonna have
like
to send you.
I know.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, like that.
have
Like,
to
it
send
could be the
a
same
shipment.
name. It could be a different name.
Send us,
But I'll send
send us
you.
a shipment. We'll disperse it to our ladies here. Cassandra, do you have it? Do you have it on yours? Look at her.
I've just been in my son's room, and all I'm going to say is it's all gone.
Oh,
Oh my God.
how old is your son? Teenager?
Not the big tub.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
It works. The other thing I was going to say before about when you were talking about blood flow and lubrication, the other thing that we haven't mentioned is breathing. So breath work and sending the breath to the vulva as warming up, and putting that consciousness there. And it may seem really silly, but inviting the pleasure there, focusing on that area, forgetting about the laundry and the shopping and the groceries and the car maintenance and the appointments tomorrow, is just being in the moment, being present and breathing, and send that blood flow. And in a couple, you can send the energy in like a figure 8 from the vulva and down past the anus, up the back around your skull, and then down between the two of you, and then the same from him through the perineum, his anus up through the spine around his head in a figure 8. And that consciously sending the energy around and consciously being together while you're breathing, that just amplifies things phenomenally. And there's not a lot of credit given where credit's due. You know, a lot of these things are safe and free and, you know, really do make a big difference.
So talk a little bit more about that. Like, is it like a deep breathing technique that you're talking about, or?
Well, the breath itself is very powerful. So breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and it's almost like an imagining the energy and setting the intention. So sexual energy is so powerful. So when you're getting started and that coming together, maybe kissing, maybe not even undressed yet, is that setting that intention that we're both going to have an amazing time, that we're both feeling deeply connected, that we're safe. And, you know, getting a conscious partner on board, having conscious sex is just, you know, out of this world as opposed to, let's say, unconscious or just what goes where, penis and vagina, didn't give too much thought to it. So if you're having any of these issues, you can almost ask your body, what do I need? And manifesting and projecting and putting the intention of what you want. So I want to feel pleasure here. I want to feel more lubricated. I want to feel an orgasm here. You know, the power of the mind is just phenomenal. And so the breath is, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth, and focusing on the vulva area and that breathing and that calming and that response. And as I said, sending that energy in a figure eight, and it's just an intention.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's great. Thank you. Awesome. Good. Any other questions? Any other comments? Abby, do you have anything else to add as well?
No, this has all been awesome, Katrina. But one thing I'd just add, I know we talked a little bit about communication and how important that is through all of these things that we're discussing. But what would you say, so often women that we work with, you know, they might hear all these tips, but it's like, how do I tangibly have that first conversation? Maybe we literally like have talked about nothing and there's been no activity going on for God knows how long, right? And how do I open the door to have a conversation and set that intention?
And you're talking in a long-term relationship,
Yes,
really?
like long-term relationship, you know, maybe they've been married for 15, 20, 30 years, and we don't know how to just breach this conversation.
Yeah. So, you know, I could offer a few different solutions. One could be write everything down, like in a journal, because that, you know, if you just free write for 15 minutes, it will help you, your subconscious, get out what the real root of the problem is, or the real cause, or some underlying thing that you may not be consciously aware of. So doing that in private, just taking some time to go. Sometimes it's like, I'm not real happy and I'm not quite sure why. So doing that alone, and, you know, when you have time and space to do so, may help you get your thoughts clear. It may be specific memories or things that he's done that you haven't quite been able to address or clear up yet. So it might be that holding on to some resentment over those things, and that needs to be addressed. So a lot of new relationship stuff now is certainly educating men on, well, it doesn't matter why she's feeling it, but she's feeling it, and that your feelings need to be validated. But a lot of people in long-term relationships are in patterns where they don't do that. So that is very hard. I was married for 20 years, and I remember specific times when I had something to tell my ex-husband and I was terrified to tell him because of how he would react. And I can say with certainty that 9 times out of 10, once I said it, he never reacted as bad as what I thought he would be. So what I thought he would. So I think, again, just being brave and saying it is probably one of the easiest things, but collecting your thoughts beforehand and sort of knowing what it is helps too. Another thing, like I said, is disarming, saying, look, this is a real issue for me and I'm not here to blame or judge. I'm just letting you know because it's a problem for me. And if we could talk about it, that would really help. But I mean, honestly, I know people like where they just get shut down and there is no, like, no, we're not talking about that, which is hard. And at the end of the day, some relationships, I do believe firmly, and in my practice professionally as well, that all relationships that can be saved should be saved, but sometimes they can't. And sometimes you've got to think, how old are you and how much longer are you going to give your energy and time to this person who is not meeting your needs? And breaking up those long-term relationships is one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But, you know, if you're in your 40s, you've still got potentially another 40 plus years left to live. And are you going to continue to do that miserably? And, you know, other, even in their 50s or 60s, I'm too old, or, you know, we've gotten this far. But if it's a case where you cannot say what you really need to say in your heart to this person who supposedly loves you, you've either got to be brave and say it, and then whatever that reaction is, it's not about you and it's not on you. It may be the best thing you ever did, because he might be saying, oh my gosh, I've never. And the other thing is being really open to hear what he has to say, because he would have been, I promise you, holding on to things he's been too scared to say about you. I know so many men that are afraid of their wives, terrified, you know, and this is where they come to me. It's like, but I can't tell her this, but I don't know why she's not having sex with me. I don't know what, and I've tried, and I've bought her flowers, and I've tried this, this, and this, and completely missing the mark through no fault of their own, but they're trying. And we have this huge discord between people, particularly long-term relationships. And you've got to think the world has changed pretty damn fast in the past 20 years. So these people were together, you know, back then, you know, like before mobile phones were a thing, you know. So the world is a different place. So I think, you know, as I said, being brave and rip the band-aid and just say, hey, if you can't say it, so maybe even writing it down if you come to the issue is, I want to talk to you about this, and saying to, this is really hard for me, or I'm really scared, because then it brings up childhood wounds of abandonment, and, you know, sometimes an angry father being yelled at, you know, it can bring up so many things. People, you know, I know people that have been raped as teenagers and never told their spouse, you know, of 10, 20 years, you know, miscarriages and abortions. And there are a lot of people holding on to a lot of secrets and carrying this guilt and shame, which then manifests in other ways in sexual dysphoria and sexual inabilities later in life, because they were never addressed. And we didn't have the tools back then to address them. So creating that space, you know, wiping the table clean, is saying, look, this is a real problem for me, and I'm really worried about us, is a really good way to start, you know, or possibly in a professional setting. But, you know, I thought after my divorce, I thought, you know what, all the things that I'd asked for in those years, and possibly him too, getting help, or, you know, employing a relationship coach such as me, is so much cheaper than divorce. You know, fixing it, if it can be fixed, is so much, and it benefits both of you. And some people are like, no, we're not going to a therapist, no, we're not going to a counselor. It's like, dude, for $100, when you have a safe space to say what you both need to say, a lot cheaper than divorce. You know, getting to the root of this issue of saying the hard things or doing the hard things is so much easier than separating two lives and living two households. Or, you know, you're paying that one bill for a little bit of help versus running two complete separate households, you know. And the things we complain about is like, I hate bringing in the rubbish or the garbage bin, or I hate cooking meals. You know, again, when you're on your own and you have to do all of that by yourself, people don't understand the magnification of that. All the things you're complaining about, you're going to have to do all of that yourself if you separate. So, you know, really, really look at this, what it's going to take. And as I said to women, you know, you need to drop your guard a bit and listen to him, because I think women are terrible at listening to their partners in long-term relationships.
Yeah, that was so good, Katrina. I think that that's going to help so many women. The idea simply of journaling their thoughts first, to recap that, guys, to really disarm and, you know, take the blame off the other person first, and rip the Band-Aid off, and to have a hard conversation. And if that's not received well, to know it might be time for you to consider yourself in the relationship too. So those were super great tips. Thanks for sharing those, Katrina.
You're most welcome.
Yeah, if anybody has another question, we have time for about one more question from y'all. But while we wait for that, I'll just add to, Sarah talked a little bit about the science, you know, behind all of this, and the benefits. But I would love for you, Katrina, if you have anything that you want to add there for women to understand. A lot of women are coming in working with us that, you know, they have super high cortisol levels. There's a lot of things going on, and to know that we have a multifaceted benefit here.
Yes. And there's virtually no downside to, oh, yeah, did I? Sorry.
No, you're good. We can hear you.
You're good.
Yeah, so I was just going to get back to the things that we can do that are free and easy, which is, you know, back to taking care of ourselves, but also just grounding. You know, like nature has a lot of the answers, and we do get very stressed. And with high cortisol, our nervous system is just on high alert. It's just like rah, 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 all day. We're looking for danger, you know, which comes back to the days where we were, you know, being chased by wild boars and wild animals, and we had to look out for that danger. And, in this day and age, screens and being shown multiple images a day, a lot of this takes its toll on our body in ways we haven't even scratched the surface of understanding yet. So one thing that I do is taking off my shoes, going out into the ground, and I do summer, winter, all year round, bare feet on the earth, or if you can't access that, just holding onto a plant. Like often, Sarah, as you know, we go to seminars, and if I'm in the conference room all day, I will go out in lunch and just touch a tree or touch a plant, something that is connected to the ground. Ideally 15 minutes, ideally eyes on the sun, and morning, watching the sunset or the sunrise is the best if you can, sunset or sunrise or sunset, but bare feet on the ground, deep breathing, that will just lower your stress hormones so much, and it is free and easy, and we have access to it. As I say, people in apartments, a plant, something, is just, it just lowers that, and it just allows you to just slow down. Another thing I do is lay flat for 10 minutes, sometime in the middle of the day, not first thing in the morning and not last thing at night. During daylight hours is best. Laying flat, and just all phones off, screens off. Natural light is okay, but no lights. And just lay like on my back on either a bed, couch, floor, and set a timer for 10 minutes. And 12 has been shown to be phenomenal for meditation, but 10 will do the job. And by the end, when you get to that 8 minutes, it's like you actually can feel the stress dissipate. And again, this is free and easy, and everybody has 10 minutes to do that. Doing that every day, it just resets your energy system. It dissipates negative energy. It allows you to just have some breathing space, because we are in such a go, 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 go stage. Or for people in their 40s and 50s who've raised their kids and are going to that next phase, they're used to the go, go, go. It's almost like that stress hormone is the only sort of thing they know. They just always on the go, and they don't actually know what to do with themselves. So coming back to the body and taking care of that. Another thing where you're gonna have to be brave here again is a cold shower. Again, I do this year round. Like, I live in Melbourne, it doesn't quite snow here, but it's pretty cold. And a cold shower every day. And if you don't want to have your whole shower cold, at least just when you first turn the hot tap on, get under it, and then the hot is coming or the warm is coming. That again really is great for your system, wakes you up. It's such good health benefits. So, grounding, 10 minutes laying flat, and a cold shower, which everybody has access to, can help really reset the nervous system and take care of ourselves, because then it allows you to do the hard things, be brave, be stronger, have time for sex, and it really can help so many other areas of your life.
Perfect. Perfect. So to close off, I see Marianne's comment here of, can we have a little bit more about the benefits of orgasms? And I think that would be a great way to end us off, is just reinforcing all of the benefits.
Yeah. So for women, it increases our, let's say our vision. It is a portal to creativity. So if you're having a problem with something, you've got a problem that you don't know how to solve, having an orgasm, you'll find that the answer will just come to you, for want of a better term or not, it'll come to you, soon. Water is good for that too. So the shower afterwards, I think the key here is doing these things consciously rather than unconsciously. Even something so simple as having a shower and washing and drying our vulva area. Do we even think about it? This is what I said on stage, that men love their penis and women don't love their vulva or vagina, because we've never been told. Like, what if you said, I love you, I'm so proud of you, sending positive energy to the vulva and the vagina for the power that it has. Like, this is absolutely God's gift to us, So I think giving it the credit where credit's due, because it is the powerhouse for the entire human race, really, and it is our unique personal powerhouse. So having an orgasm, one, is great, but then what I do in my work is multiple orgasms too. So what a lot of people don't know is the clitoral and the anal, because the muscle is in a figure 8, they actually do go together. So a lot of people are having an anal orgasm, but they don't know that because there's no feedback stimulation. So that's where people can use a finger, or some people enjoy anal sex or a sex toy as well, and that is a huge release of energy too, negative energy as well. There's a cervical orgasm, which the best way to do that is the head of the penis touching the cervix, and those are 2 heart centers when they touch. So it's a deeply powerful connection for the couple, but a cervical orgasm is just transformational for the woman. But guys love to give you orgasms too. They just feel like the king of the world if they can give you one. So if you really want one and they, can give you just the clitoral or just the vaginal or just one, a lot of people are really not that experienced in how to give a G-spot orgasm or the cervical orgasm or the anal orgasm or, the nipple orgasm or the whole body orgasm. So I think increasing and me just listing this, for some of you might be like, oh, I didn't know some of those were. So, I've written a book, which it hasn't been released yet, but that's what I'm talking about, is 1 versus 3 versus 5 and 7 orgasms, where you can learn a way to have 5 by yourself in one session, and you kind of need a man or a partner to get the last 2 to have the 7. Vibrator can get you 6, but probably not the 7. So it's knowing that sex, we're just scratching the surface on what is possible. There is so much more that is possible, by opening up your eyes and mind and heart and ears, I suppose, to what's possible for you, and saying, well, how far can my body go with this? How much pleasure could I possibly receive? How much trauma can I heal? How much pain can I reduce? How much creativity could I open up to? As I said, more orgasms equals more money. There's definite link. There's a scientific link there. Glowing for days, happy smile. You can see, I reckon I could cure road rage by getting the world to have more orgasms, because it's that release of anger and stress as well. And it's like, now when you guys go out and you're going to see angry people go, they need Katrina, they need a bit more sex in their day, or even yourself. It's like, wow. So also the permission is that biggest piece. So when you give yourself permission and say, you know what, I was born for this. This is my birthright. And if I don't know how to do it or don't know how to do a particular one, I'll make it my mission to find out. So yeah, decreasing nervous system, increasing happy hormones, getting what you want. If you do have to have a difficult conversation, have the orgasm first, then have your difficult conversation. You're much more likely to get a yes from the other person, male or female, because we are just more attractive after it. So yeah, there's plenty of benefits and virtually no downside.
Katrina, question. So we have heard, probably many of us, that for men, the more they sort of do it, the more they sort of want it. That could be on their own, by the way. It doesn't have to be with us, right? So
Yeah.
if they sort of go for a period without, but if they sort of start doing it, their body craves it in a sense.
Yes.
Is that the same for a woman?
Yeah. So that was going to be my last point, that quantity, by having more sex, we can improve a lot of our health problems and or nervous system, mental health. And quantity can, if you're not having sex or not having good sex, having it more often first is the start, and that will start to improve things, and then working on the quality, as in, well, I'm only able to have the clitoral orgasm and or the vaginal orgasm, or I'm not able to yet have the G-spot, is okay, let's find out how to do that. Then it's like, okay, where are my other erogenous zones, on the neck or the nipples, or the inner thighs or the arches of the feet. So yeah, quantity is absolutely good. It helps with the blood flow. It helps with on a cellular level. It's also decreasing the multiplication of disease cells. Anti-aging, it is actually also a fact that women that have more sex look younger, look healthier. Your hair, your skin, teeth, eyes, there's that sparkle in the eye of someone. I don't know if you ever had those conversations with people and you just think, they've just got that little bit of spunk to them, and you can just tell that they're a happier person. Probably in a lot of cases they're having good sex or quality sex. And so it's that multiple thing. It's like your cup's empty, so it's like, okay, let's get the first little bit of water in there, like let's get a little bit more water in there. So starting with the quality is filling that cup a little bit more, and then you'll find it's easier to fill the cup. And the body is a remarkable machine. For instance, people with like dehydration, or who live for weeks and months not having enough water, the minute you start to drink the right amount of water, the kidneys go, woohoo, water, and they flush it straight away. So you go to the toilet a lot more often, and people go, well, I don't want to drink too much water because I can't go to the toilet that often at work. That doesn't last forever. It's until the kidneys realize, oh, we're going to get more water today, we're going to get more water, then they kind of ease off, and the toilet frequency and then the bladder reacts. So you've got to understand that the body is a machine, and if you treat it right and treat it well, it will continue to function better and better and better.
Absolutely amazing. I think we could all talk all night with you, Katrina, but I do want to be respectful of your time. We appreciate you so much. I would love for you to share with everyone where they can find you, follow along with you, even work with you if they're looking for more help in this area.
Yeah, so if you look my name, Katrina Wyrzykowski, I'm on Facebook. I have a business page by the same name and on Instagram, but my business on Instagram, which I think we'll share the link, Sarah, is Living the Life You Deserve with an underscore between each word. So Instagram at living underscore the underscore life underscore you underscore deserve. And I'm on TikTok as trina.vision. And I'm on LinkedIn under my name, Katrina Wyrzykowski. So, reach out, tell me that you're here on the webinar. I would love to contact you. And if you have any specific questions following on from this that you didn't get to ask, I'm really just happy to chat. I'm happy to be a guest on podcasts. I'm currently doing interviews and starting my own podcast, which will be I'm Living the Life, which will start soon. And again, I'll let Sarah know for the community. Yeah, I'm really happy to chat with anybody anytime. Just reach out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and we'll keep all of that stuff posted as well so that everybody can get in touch with you and put together like a little PDF of some of your top tips according to Katrina. And when your book comes out, you have to let us know so that we can jump on and grab our coffee. So
I will definitely. It's very exciting.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know it's early in the morning for you, so it's after 8 for us, but I appreciate your time and all of your knowledge and your expertise. So everybody, really appreciate you being here. So
thank you. It was my absolute pleasure to share today with you. And as I said, anytime, and we will have a part 2 soon if you want to.
love it. Yeah, that
Love
sounds
it.
great.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night and take care, Katrina. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.